All right, I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachah Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Theotokos, Mother of God, Queen of Heaven, or Theotokos, however you say it. That, and I know it's going to cause a lot of controversy. Don't be surprised if on the comment board you get a whole bunch of Roman Catholics and a bunch of Christians and a bunch of nuts coming in here, trying to dispute their position on this topic, the elder, if he's on here, might have his unless he's filming right now, he might have his job cut out for him today. Anyway, what is Theotokos? Well, let's read it. Theotokos is Mother of God, used in the Eastern Orthodox Church as a title of the Virgin Mary. And pretty much all this is nothing more than the worshiping of the Queen of Heaven. It's been done in many different religions, many different time frames, many different empires, from the beginning all the way until this very day. They're still doing the same exact thing. Worshiping the woman, putting the woman up on a pedestal. And that's why they say that Mary, what they call the ever virgin, because they're saying that she was never touched by man, and that's not the case. When you go back to, because matter of fact, let's start off with that. Let's start off with Matthew, the first chapter, and I believe it's the 21st verse or the 23rd verse. Right, let's start at 22. It says, "Now all this was done that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is the Most High with us." Now when you go back to, I believe that's Jeremiah. Is that Isaiah? Isaiah chapter 7. Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 14. What you have here is, "Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and call his name and shall call his name Emmanuel." So pretty much this virgin here, when you look at the word virgin, most people think of a woman that's not touched, that hasn't had sexual intercourse with a man. But when you go to the Hebrew of this word virgin, what you will find out here is ha-ilama or ha-ayalama. Ha is the, and ilama or ayalama is young woman, like the name Elam. The name Elam means young, Ilam or ayalam. So ha-ilama is a young woman of marriageable age, a maid. It's not talking about an actual virgin, but that's what they did. They put that emphasis on that because that is a pagan custom, a pagan worship that goes back to those ancient pagan religions. And that's why they incorporated into the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Catholic Church is nothing more than a paganistic idol worshiping church. And all of these other branches from it is the same exact thing, but they just have different teachings, Now going back here to Theotokos. Theotokos. It says Theotokos is a title of Mary, Mother of Jesus, used especially in Eastern Christianity. The usual Latin translation, Dei Gentrix or Dei Pada, are Mother of God or God bearer. And this is why they say that they can't move forward unless the world accepts that, because that's one of their pagan teachings. That's one of the reasons why Vocab and them say that we deny Yahushua's divinity, because we're not saying that he is God. And if that's the case, if you say that, then that means that Mary is the mother of God. So that's why they have such a problem with us, because we don't acknowledge that, because those are paganistic cultures, paganistic religions. Now, Yahushua is divine. He came from the Most High. He is the Son of the Most High. He is our Savior. He came through the loins of Jacob of Joseph, who impregnated Mary, and Yahushua was born. And that's the whole picture. Now the confusion comes with the word virgin, which in the Greek is parthenos, which represents an actual or literal virgin. But when you go into the Greek in the Old Testament, there's a word for virgin meaning young woman, which is neanis. Neanis is a representation of a young woman of marriageable age. But the word parthenos is an actual virgin, and they're trying to equate that parthenos with Mary, that virgin. That's why in the New Testament, when you look up the Greek word for virgin, it says parthenos, which should be rendered neanis, which neanis is the same or the equivalent of Ilama or Ayalama, which we read in Isaiah the 7th chapter. All right, so now we read that the title has been in use since the 3rd century. Now check this out. It says the 3rd century, because this is when the dogmas of the Roman Catholic Church were catching steam. When you research Constantine was a pagan worshiper, and it was his mother that convinced him to convert to Christianity. So what he did was not to lose revenue for the church. What he did was he incorporated pagan practices into what was known back then as Christianity and merged them together so that both the worshipers of the Lord and the worshipers of the heathen pagan gods can all come together and they can have more money. It's a lot more detailed than that, but that's that's the gist of it. All right. So now we have, you see pictures here of Theotokos, which is the mother and child, and this goes back to something known as the Queen of Heaven. Queen of Heaven antiquity. Queen of Heaven was a title given to a number of ancient sky goddesses worshipped throughout the ancient Mediterranean and Near East during ancient time. Goddesses known to have been referred to by the title include Inanna, Anat, Isis, Nut, Astarte, and possibly Ashera by the prophet Jeremiah. In Greco-Roman times, Hera and Juno bore this title. Forms and content of worship varied. All right, and then they give you the list of different ones. They give you Hebrew Bible references, which if we have time, Lord's will, we'll get into some of this. But what I want to focus on here is Isis. Now check out Isis here. It says statue of Isis nursing what? Her son, housed in the Louvre. So this is a what's the word I'm looking for? An example of the so-called ever virgin, or the so-called mother and child union goddess worship goes back to, and that's why they incorporated it into the Roman Catholic Church, and then that took on to certain other Christian branches of the Roman Catholic Church. So that's what it goes back to. All right, and that's why when Polite and them came out, they tried to cut us on that, and he said we don't believe in that. We don't believe in the mother and child, pagan thing that they got out there. I forget exactly what it was called, the virgin birth. Yeah, we don't believe in that because that's not what happened. Now going back, we go down to, I want to read some of this. It says Isis was venerated first in Egypt as per the Greek historian Herodotus. It says writings in the 5th century BC, Isis was the only goddess worshipped by all Egyptians alike, and those influence was so widespread by that point that she had become completely syncretic with the Greek goddess Demeter. It is after the conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great and the Hellenization of the Egyptian culture initiated by Ptolemy I Soter that she eventually became known as Queen of Heaven, because that's what she was anyway, going way back. Lucius Apuleius confirms this in book 11, chapter 47 of his novel, The Golden Ass, in which his character prays to the Queen of Heaven. The goddess herself responds to his prayer, delivering a lengthy monologue in which she explicitly identifies herself as both the Queen of Heaven and Isis. It says, then with a weeping countenance I made this orison to the puissant goddess, saying, O blessed queen of heaven. Now check this out, O blessed queen of heaven. So this goddess, the so-called mother and child, was worshipped back then, and they would say prayers to her. Are you starting to get the picture? The queen of heaven, here we go. This is the queen of heaven. You see here, queen of heaven, so-called mother and child. Virgin Mary icon, queen of heaven icon. All right? So now, we read here that Isis, the mother and child, the mother was prayed to by the ancient pagans back then, right? So we got something here called Mary, Mother of God prayer. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, so-called Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now at the hour of our death. So be true. So pretty much this is a prayer that they're given to so-called Mary, but that prayer goes back to who? To Isis, to the Queen of Heaven, and all the rest of the other deity, female deities that this title was applied to. So that's the same thing that they did with Mary. So they put Mary up on a pedestal as the mother of God. And that's one of the reasons why they say we deny the divinity of Yahushua, because we don't acknowledge the virgin birth, because it's not biblical. So when we go to Luke 11:27, it says, and it came to pass as he spake these things, Yahushua was speaking, teaching, a certain woman of the company lifted up her voice and said unto him, blessed is the womb that bare thee, and the paps which thou hast sucked. Because remember, Jake was all into worshiping that woman worship. All right, which you're going to get into some precepts dealing with that. They were all into that. It says, but he said, yea, rather blessed are they that hear the word of the Most High and keep it. See, he didn't say go ahead and venerate Mary, even though Mary, she was a great woman. There was a great thing that was done by her. She brought forth the Savior of the nation of Israel. So she was great, but she wasn't to the point where she should be exalted and prayed to and deified. That's something that they did. They got something called the Ascension of Mary, which is when I believe, I don't really know the fullness of it, but I believe it's when she was brought up to the heavens or something like that, in like manner as Yahushua or something like that. Don't quote me on it, because I'm not certain on it, because I haven't gone over there in a while. But something along those lines, to where they deified Mary. So now what we're going to do is we're going to from there we're going to go to Jeremiah 31 and 22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? This is dealing with the nation of Israel. For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. And that's what happened. The things are out of order. They got the woman exalted over the men. And this goes back to that Queen of Heaven worship, the deifying, of the woman. That goes back to the Hebrew word sabab. It says to turn about or around or aside or back or towards, go about, to around, surround, and circle, change direction. So pretty much in this society, the woman runs circles around the men. They're exalted over the men. The men are made to look stupid. That's why when you watch these different commercials, the man is made to look like a buffoon, but the woman is made to seem that she was so smart, that she's so strong. Like that stupid whole Gabrielle Union. They had a commercial with her. I don't know if that was her husband, and she's supposed to be running, and she's drinking the Gatorade, and she's leaving him in the dust. Always making the man look stupid, making the man look bad. And that's what the Queen of Heaven worship is all about. That's what feminism is all about. That's why it's not proper, it's not right to have a woman in a position of authority. Which we're going to get precepts on that too. So now let's go from there to the book of Isaiah chapter 3 verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors. That's Esau that's oppressing us. It says, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee, which are the leaders of Israel, your Jesse Jacksons and your Al Sharptons and all them different Farrakhan's and all them, and even some Israelites among the Hebrew Israelite community, so to speak. It says, O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. So let's look up this word, rule over thee. Cause thee to err, and women rule over them. Okay, women rule, mashal, to rule, have dominion, reign. Yeah, and the women have been exalted. Why? Because of the Queen of Heaven worship. See, to cause to rule, to exercise dominion, and they have dominion in this society. That's why you have women lawyers and women judges, and women teachers, and many other positions of authority. Women police officers, women firefighters, just women in general being in a position of authority, which is not to be so. And this is why they separated the man from the household with the promise to give the woman back in the 60s, I believe, 60s, 70s, to give the woman welfare if they agreed to kick the man out, so that there would be no father figure there, so that the family would be a dysfunctional family, because there was no one there to actually run the family correctly and put their foot down and set their authority when things were amiss, to set everything in the perfect balance. Why? Because of the Queen of Heaven worship, because of the so-called women's rights, which is nothing more than feminism, was nothing more than lesbianism. That's why they made these so-called black women. So I don't need a man. Well, you know what that is? That's feminism talking. That's lesbianism talking. You see? That's all by design, and you fell right for it, just like Eve fell for the bullshit of the serpent in the garden. You fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. You fell for it back then, and you're falling for it now. All right. So now let's see what else we got. Now, let's go from there to the book of 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. In like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel. And what do? They show you your Cardi B's and your Megan Thee Stallion. You got the different Little Kims and the Foxy Browns and all the different female rappers and different female entertainers and all that, dressing scantily, talking about having diseases, talking about their coochie, talking about their titties, talking about how they did this and they did that one, how they creeping and how they doing this and that and the other, showing women scantily clad so that it can make an impression on these younger women, and they can want to be just like them. And every time you turn around and you look at different videos with so-called black women and the Latino women and other women, what are they doing? Clapping their ass, twerking, doing provocative sexual innuendos. You see? It's all by design. And that's why the majority of the men, a lot of these men out here that are young men, are being brought up to be homosexuals, to be soft. But the women, you see them all butchy. That's all by design. The stuff that they put in the foods. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. This is a direct the direct cause of feminism, the direct cause of the Queen of Heaven worship, putting up women on a pedestal. They do not belong on a pedestal. Women have their place, but a lot of women don't like that, because this society, this Western mentality, has taught them that they're just as equal to the man. But whenever there's some heavy lifting that need to be done, what happens? They got to go to the man. That proves to you that a woman and a man are not equal. And the Most High set up an order for the man to be over the woman. Let's go real quick to 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3. It says, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Yahushua. So we have a head, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahushua is the Most High. So wow, this could have been another cut for the other lesson, that we were doing before. So the head of the woman is the man. And that's why it says here, when we go back, it says, with shamefaced and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. And that's why, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, we hard on the women. Why? Because this society has taught our women to be totally out of order. So there has to be someone to put their foot down. to give the and if a woman is somewhat of a righteous woman, she's gonna take heed to that. Say, you know what, I am out of order. Let me get myself together before the Lord jack me up. That's a part of the fear of the Lord. But with these women out here, they're not taught that. They're taught to be just like the man, because this is the never-ending cycle, you know, of this trap, you know, this rat race, this the gerbil on a treadmill, you know, on that ring, just running around in circles. You know, it's a vicious cycle. So the word subjection, it says hupotaga, the act of subjecting, obedience, subjection. So a woman is supposed to be in subjection unto who? Unto her husband. Why? Because he is the head and you are not the head. Just like Yahushua is our head, and we're to be in subjection under him. We don't tell Yahushua what to do. He tells us what to do. Genesis 3:16, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And he shall rule over thee, meaning the man is going to rule over the woman. It goes back to the same Hebrew word, mashal, which you read earlier. So let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffered not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. And that's why you have your Cardi B's and these different hoes out here. Back in the 80s, it was Salt and Pepper, you know, and a different other, you know, hoes out there that was scantily clad. It's no different today. It's just different faces, different names, but it's the same agenda. Woman to teach, nor to usurp authority. And the usurp authority is authenteo, which is where you get authentic or probably authority. It says one who with his own hands kills another or himself, one who acts on his own authority. See, autocratic. An absolute master to govern, exercise dominion over one. So a woman is not supposed to be an absolute master or govern or exercise dominion over the man. But in this society, you see it over and over again. But I suffered not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived. But the woman being deceived was in the transgression. So it was the woman that was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. So there is hope. Now, let's go here. I typed in Theotokos as the Queen of Heaven, and this is what popped up. And I forgot about this information because I used to bring this out before. But, you know, there's so much information that it's impossible to retain everything, you know. But then the Spirit will have us run into different stuff that we may have gone over years ago to bring it back out. This is Mary becomes Mother of God the year 431 AD, because there was a council, one of the Roman Catholic councils, an ecumenical council, which the word ecumenical goes back to the word oikumene, which means the whole world. At that time, all of the churches that were in that area of what they call the world, they all came together and convened together to have these different councils. You had the Council of Nicaea, which was 325 AD, where they had set certain things up, you know, in this council, and they would have the council to see what things would be accepted to teach. So in 431 AD, there was a council, and this council was in all places Ephesus. And Ephesus is one of the main worshippers of the Queen of Heaven. It says the year 431 AD was a momentous one in the history of the Queen of Heaven. That's the year the church fathers meeting in Ephesus in modern-day Turkey officially declared that Mary is Theotokos, literally in Greek, the one who gave birth to God. See? And the Most High has no beginnings. He has no ending of days, no beginnings. He is the Ancient of Days. But they're saying that Mary is the Mother of God, which that goes back to Semiramis, Nimrod, and Tammuz. Because as the so-called legend goes, Tammuz got into a fight with Set, and Set killed him, and cut him up into 14 different pieces, threw his body in the river Styx, and Semiramis went back and she recovered all the pieces except for his rod, his penis. And so that's why they erected what? The obelisk as a representation of Nimrod's penis. But then Semiramis got pregnant after her son/husband was dead. And that's where Tammuz came in. And that's what the scriptures speak about, the women weeping for Tammuz. So it's a whole bunch of pagan religious worships that were incorporated into the Bible. Or should I say the teachings that these devils did, and tried to use the Bible to justify that madness. All right. So now, let's go to Acts 19 and 23. But before we read that, just to show you where we're at, Acts 19 and 1. And it came to pass that while Apollos was at Corinth, Paul, having passed through the upper coast, came to Ephesus, and finding certain disciples. So this was Paul in Ephesus. So let's find out what happened in Ephesus while Paul was there. And the same time there arose no small stir about that way. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen. And this is just another name for the Queen of Heaven, Diana. Let's look up Diana, see what it says. Diana. Artemis, see? Same as the movie Hunger Games. The chick, Katniss, forget her name. But she played Artemis. That's why they didn't say that, but that's why she had the bow and arrow, and she was hunting, because that's one of the traits of Artemis, which is the Queen of Heaven. You know, is a bow and arrow. So Artemis, Diana, complete light, flow, restrained. Artemis, that is to say, the so-called Tauric or Persian or Ephesian Artemis, the goddess of many Asiatic people, to be distinguished from the Artemis of the Greeks, the sister of Apollo. A very splendid temple was built to her at Ephesus, which was set on fire by Herostratus and reduced to ashes. But afterwards, in the times of Alexander the Creep, it was rebuilt in a style of greater magnificence. So this is the Queen of Heaven by all these different names. Nothing more than a female idol that they set up, because they were worshiping. They were only worshiping the sun, moon, and stars, and the cows and the cattle and all that. They were also worshiping women. All right. So it says, for a certain man named Demetrius silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen, whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, and said, Sirs, you know that by this craft we have our wealth. Moreover, you see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, which we read that was a deity of Asia, this Paul hath persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods which are made with hands. And that's the truth. You know, those are nothing more than, but these individuals, since their business and their money was being endangered, that's why they brought a coup against the Apostle Paul and the Israelites back then that were teaching this way, because it was causing them to lose money, because nobody, with the ones that would convert from those idols, which were Israelites, they were no longer buying those statues. You know, it says, so that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worshipeth. See, so at that time, the whole world back then, the known world, was worshiping this Queen of Heaven. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And the whole city. So there is no coincidence that in 431 there was a council, and that council was in Ephesus, modern day Turkey, and that council was to set up Mary pretty much as a Queen of Heaven, Theotokos, which is the so-called Mother of God. It says, and the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. And when Paul would have entered in unto the temple, the disciples suffered him not, and certain of the chief of Asia, his friends, sent unto him, desiring him that he would not adventure himself into the theater. Some therefore cried one thing, some another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not wherefore they were come together. And they drew Alexander out of the multitude, the Jews putting him forward. You can read the rest of that. I'm just going to jump down. But when they knew that he was a Jew, all with one voice about the space of 2 hours cried out, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And when the town clerk had appeased the people, he said, You men of Ephesus, what man is there that knoweth not how that the city of the Ephesians is a worshipper of the great goddess Diana, and of the image which fell down from Jupiter? And Jupiter goes back to the Greek word Theopetas, which we hear the alternative is what? Zeus. Okay, so it says fallen from Zeus, an example from heaven. And this is another, another incorporation of madness, of pagan worship into the scriptures. When they talk about, I seen Satan falling from heaven, saying that Satan himself was cast out of heaven, which that's not what that's talking about. But that's the gross misunderstanding of these plantation Christians. It says an image of the Ephesians, Artemis, which was supposed to have fallen from heaven. Okay, going back. Fell down from Jupiter. Seeing then that these things cannot be spoken against, you ought to be quiet and do nothing rashly. For you have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers of churches, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. Wherefore, if Demetrius and the craftsmen which are with him have a matter against any man, the law is open, and there are deputies, let them implead one another. So this thing caused a big controversy. Why? Because they worship the Queen of Heaven. Now, let's go from there. Let's read this real quick. Jeremiah 7:16. Therefore pray not thou for these people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear thee. Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. And this is what they were doing. So now, why were they committing these acts? Were they just doing it just as a habit? Were they just doing it because they felt like doing it? Was this just part of their curriculum? Did they have a reason for doing this? Well, yes, the reason is this, Jeremiah 44:15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us, in the name of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, we will not hearken unto thee. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. So that's why now, in this time, when they roll out the marketed beast, which is the microchip, a lot of jakes are going to take it, because that's going to symbolize their allegiance to the god of Esau, so that they can eat, so that they can be taken care of, so that they can live comfortable. That's the same thing that they did with the Queen of Heaven. It says, But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine. You see? So Jake is not going to want to be uncomfortable. So they're going to want to live good. They're going to want to survive. They're going to want to be able to eat, to live comfortably, to get back to normal. So what are they going to do? They eventually, a lot of them are going to take that chip, which gives allegiance to the god of Esau. So now let's go from there real quick. I got 2 more precepts. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. Actually, 3 more precepts. No, matter of fact, before I go there, let me go to... Let me just get this. let me get another tab here. Go to, matter of fact, let me put this over here and go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 18. It says, what profit of the graven image that the maker thereof hath graven it? And what was the purpose of them making these graven images? Well, one thing is for them to worship, to sell, make money, and like I said, pretty much for them to worship it. The molten image for what? For benefits. It says, the molten image and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein, to make dumb idols, because them idols are dumb. They can't speak, they can't see, they can't hear, they can't save themselves. You know, if a fire breaks out in the house, they can't run out. They can't quench the fire in that house. They'll get burnt up, because they're dumb idols. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. That's right. So now let's go to Jeremiah 51, starting at verse 17. It says, every man is bruised by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. Remember, the worshiping of idols, that was the main, the image of jealousy, the thing that really aggravated and upset the Most High the most. For this molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish, because there's going to be a visitation upon these idols. It says the portion of Jacob is not like them. Who is the portion of Jacob? The Most High, Yahweh. So the Most High is not like these dumb idols, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. So it's letting you know that this portion is talking about the Most High. The Most High is not like these other idols. That's why he said he's not going to give his glory to another. All right, and the last precept I have is in the Apocrypha, in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 11. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 11. It says, I'm starting at 9. For the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful unto the Most High. For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles, this is talking about the actual Gentiles, shall there be a visitation. Because in the creature of the Most High they are become an abomination, and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. That's why the Most High is going to visit them. All right. So this has been Theotokos, Mother of God, Queen of Heaven. I'm surprised no scoffers came on here from them different. Maybe later they'll come, because that's what they'll do. They'll come and talk they crap on here. Like that one video with the chariot, you got a whole bunch of people coming there. Oh, that's Mars. Oh, that's Mars. I've seen it. Oh, that's Mars. Get the hell out of here, man. So anyway, with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom. To make dumb idols, because them idols are dumb. They can't speak, they can't see, they can't hear, they can't save themselves. You know, if a fire breaks out in the house, they can't run out. They can't quench the fire in that house. They'll get burnt up, because they're dumb idols. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is